Nigeria's central bank chief, Godwin Emefiele, spent some time of his dinner speech to the bankers at the CIBN annual dinner last year, November 30th to be precise, about the state of the global economy and the markets. And as always, you expect every central bank governor to highlight what you call externalities, or what you call those external headwinds that could be against its domestic economy. So we spent about, of his very lengthy, about 5 pages of this very lengthy document to talk about what was a key overview of the global marketplace, the economy, and what to expect in the new year. But this is what Godwin Emefiele asked 2 critical questions on page 10 of his speech. And he says, what are the likely implications of these issues on Nigeria? First question. Second question, what steps can we take to avoid a repeat of the economic slowdown that occurred between 2016 and 2017? Godwin Emefiele went on to say that the central bank's primary attention will be on 3 areas. One, the rising trade tensions between the U.S. and China, which is already beginning to show its hands as Apple and others gave preferred warning on China economic slowdown. What will be Nigeria's economy insulation from the adverse consequences facing emerging and frontier markets because U.S. interest rates is rising? And third, what's the likely impact of crude oil market because of the sharp rise in U.S. oil production? These are some of the questions we're trying to find answers to as we push politics aside and focus on the headwinds for Nigeria's economy. Paul Alaje is a development economist and a senior economist at SPM Professionals. He's live to us from our Abuja studios. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming through. We appreciate your time. Paul, give us a sense of what we've seen over the last few days since New Year started, those turbulence that started around the second half of last year, now looking like there's no let-up in this economic shake-up and financial markets meltdown.
Yeah, thank you so very much. There is a gathering of cloud. This cloud that is gathering right now is what will come before economic meltdown, global economic meltdown, and it's the indicators are almost full. So on a side, we are seeing that countries are finding it difficult to cut taxes because for them to have a boost in their growth. You have Brexit that have a huge negative implication on UK's economy, and you could see the stock market in UK, most of the top companies are having losses. On another side, you have the American economy also posting negative results, particularly for their manufacturing units. This is also the same for China. Now, these are 2 most powerful economies in the world, and the 2 of them are finding it challenging, particularly as it affects manufacturing and what the global economy has been. Again, we also have another major issue, because I've talked about fiscal, we've talked about trade. We have a major issue that most central banks in the world, starting with Fed, that's Federal Reserve in America, are faced with, particularly as it affects interest rates. I'll just take Nigeria as an example, a country who need to keep interest rate high at 14% right now. But for you to boost the economy, and this affects not just Nigeria, and it affects so many countries of the world, even the United States, you need to bring down interest rate for you to lubricate the economy, for growth to happen, because we might not just be getting fiscal arm correctly, and this happens to most countries of the world again. So if there is fiscal issue, global debt is rising. United States borrowed $2 trillion just in 2 years, average of $1 trillion per year. Big companies are posting losses. It's going to have effect on automobile, it's going to have effect on so many companies in the world. This might tell us that the world might be faced with another global recession or financial crisis. Unfortunately, I don't think many organizations and many institutions, as well as countries or economics, are prepared for this meltdown. While it's good that the CBN governor is giving us an information regarding what Nigerians may be expecting, and unfortunately, many of us in Nigeria, we are just focusing on politics. We're not looking at what will be the aftermath if there is another global economic meltdown, which, from my own understanding, maybe are unavoidable right now.
Paul, very quickly, just get one single example. Of course, we all knew what happened last year. A number of countries did currency depreciation. South Africa, Turkey, Russia, Argentina, Brazil, and all of that. We managed to hold our currency in place, defending it with our FX and oil earnings, basically last year, and of course a few Eurobonds. But if you look at interest rates, Mexico, Indonesia, India, Turkey, all of them raised rates last year. For the first time, like you said, the Bank of England raised interest rate for the first time in 10 years. And the Fed said they did 3 last year, and some folks are looking at 3 more in 2019. Kaplan of Dallas Fed says, please hold fire. Jerome Powell, don't do anything yet this year. Let's resolve some of these issues. So if you look at this, all this coming together to start a very turbulent new year 2019, and Apple is just taking that first bullet, as it were. Look at Apple, one single U.S. company rattling the global stock market, hundreds of billions of dollars lost around markets around the world because one single company, Apple, says sales in China is slowing down.
Now, for Nigeria, I'll give you just an example. It will have the first component of the first target for Nigeria will be our currency. And you could feel an introduction of that yesterday with the depreciation of Naira at the import-export window. So the first thing global economic crisis goes for in economies is the currency. From currency, it goes to foreign reserve. Of course, if your currency depreciates, it is normal for central banks across the globe to want to defend their local currency. We only have 42 billion US dollars in our votes. China has trillions of US dollars in their votes. Nigeria cannot certainly say we want to defend the Naira. It's either we do milestone depreciation, just like what happened in 2016 or 2017, where CBN moved exchange rate officially from 199 to about 240 and further moved to 305 that we have now. So we might not just be prepared for the economic meltdown. And I think that CBN is doing the best it could do, and I believe we keep doing the best. Right now, I think the fiscal policy maker, particularly as it affects the budget, we need to start spending. Because if we don't spend, the entire economy will contract. The central bank's goal is price stability and exchange rate stability. And when this happens, they will need to further increase rates, higher than 14%. You know what the implication of that on jobs and on private sector. That may be crowded out. But the concern now is how do we begin to spend? Not just federal government budget, but also state government budget. Also, how do we cut taxes? Because this is another option we have. It appears in the 2019 budget, the government is looking at how to increase revenue generation drive, rather than looking at how do we grow the economy. So it's not a good news for most countries. The kind of confusion that will go around the world. We only hope that in the coming period, the way IMF and World Bank were able to intervene on time, even though they lost a meaningful period of time before this could be done, we hope that this would happen. But the thing is, few countries will gain during crisis, but most countries of the world may go down for it.